kind of substantial news because this is the first time like that I remember in the history of a NetherRealm Studios game, NRS officially coming out and being like, hey, we're done. Listen, we're done. It's for Mortal Kombat 11. NRS came out today and literally said, like, you know what? Appreciate your support in MK11, but we are done. There's no more characters, no more content. We're done. And that was revealed through this tweet earlier today from NRS directly, specifically stating, yeah, NetherRealm is now focusing on its next project, and after more than 2 years of supporting MK11, DLC for this game, including characters, has come to an end. So anyone's wishes of a potential Combat Pack 3 are essentially dashed. This is interesting, right? Like, number one, NRS actually doing this is kind of different than their usual behavior of the past. I think it's mostly because a lot of people are requesting and assuming so much that they were going to be doing more characters and things of the like. And a lot of people being like, how the hell could you end development of this game so early? Like, how could MK11 only get like just under 2 years of development support? This is ridiculous. And to me, it's like, oh my God, people might have just started playing Mortal Kombat at Mortal Kombat 11 or something like that, because the more popular a fighting game gets, the more voices you have. Like, I think NRS and Smash are the two biggest examples of this, because these are the two fighting games where you get the biggest scope of audience interpretation and audience reaction. Because their audiences are so big, you get a lot of people with some crazy takes on regarding what's going on. This is pretty relevant. For anyone that is curious, like, my favorite NRS game is Mortal Kombat X. I'm pretty open about that. We just had a pretty big tournament about it, and it went great. So there's always been a lot of animosity regarding MK11 and the way it plays over the past year, and this is not new. Like, every NetherRealm game, since I started playing NRS games, like, this is when NRS became a studio, right? Not like talking about midway Mortal Kombat. From Injustice and beyond, so like, we're talking like 2013. Every game is the same. Like, every game comes out, by the end of that game's life cycle, the people that are playing it essentially hate it. Like, very few people end up like loving this game. And then they get another game within a very little time frame after. If not, there's an announcement for another game, and then they just drop whatever said game before. This is not a new thing for fighting games, right? We just watched this happen with watched it happen with Guilty Gear Strive, with a lot of people that, you know, where the community essentially turns on itself, where a lot of people are willing and ready to welcome new things and different things. Even I'm guilty of this sometimes. Like, sometimes I hear some design decision stuff and play the new stuff, and I'm like, I don't know if I agree with this, but I still think it's good to give a new game a chance. But a lot of people just don't. They just want to stick to their one thing. Once again, this is a fighting game thing, right? People invest so much time into an individual game, like an individual fighting game, and put so many hundreds of matches, thousands of hours into one game. It's going to be really hard for them to let that shit go. And we've seen this to be the case for so many fighting games over the years, where a lot of people will just stick to one or two things. That's not a bad thing, but it really is applicable towards certain scenes that are very dedicated towards that style of fighting game, like Smash and Mortal Kombat are two good examples of two very different kinds of fighting games that very much play like each other, right? They pretty much play like Mortal Kombat games only really play like other NRS games, and Smash games, obviously, Smash games is Smash games, and you have all these other games that are like Smash, but Smash carries from its characters. So when you try to deviate from that, people mostly can get a little volatile. But here's the funny thing. The observation from this comes from a wonderful chart that I saw of latest fighting game releases over the past few years. And I would love to put this up here. So I actually don't know who made this, right? There's a brilliant human being out there somewhere that created this image to help us out with what the hell's going on here and to figure out what's going on. Let's specifically look at the NRS games. And I mention this because people are like, man, how could Mortal Kombat 11 support dry up? This is ridiculous. And I'm like, dude, do you even remember what happened to the previous Mortal Kombat game? Do you have any idea? Because to me, it felt like the previous MK game, up until its very last balance patch, hardly ever had any DLC. Like, there was the last balance patch, and that was after Combat Pack 2, and then that game was done, and it was just around about a year or so. Yeah, ignore the craziness that is down here, because we'll talk about that in a second, but how long does development and support last for NRS games? The funny thing is, we can actually talk about Injustice 1, even though it's on here, but it was around about the same time frame as Mortal Kombat X, going back to the previous years. Injustice 1 came out in 2013, and by the time like mid 2014 came around, that support was ending like right around here. And we got news of MKX at June, like right smack dab in the middle of 2014. And then it took about, 8 to 9 months for the thing to come out. Yeah, there you go. Bam. The NRS guys essentially get a brand new fighting game like just over every 2 years. And then naturally MKX got development support for just about a year. And then bam, Injustice 2 was announced right around here. And then Injustice 2 came out and then got its support for a little bit less of time frame, like right under the year mark of time frame. So to be like Mortal Kombat 11 barely got any support when they were saying like they were going to support this thing for 2 years. Yes, it absolutely. Into 2021, no, we're here now. It's absolutely, this game got way more support. It might not seem like it had a ton of support from the devs, but without a shadow of a doubt, Mortal Kombat 11 got twice as much support as any of the previous games over the past decade. And I think a lot of people are forgetting MK11 got probably one of the biggest elements of technical support that any NRS game has ever had. This game had an entire story expansion. This game had like a giant story expansion on top of characters, on top of costumes, on top of... That has never happened before. There's never been a story DLC like it was for MK11. Like that Aftermath was huge, dude. That's a giant undertaking that would appeal towards this audience way more than just the hardcore crowd that's looking for just characters and stuff like that. The story expansion was gigantic. So the fact that they were able to sneak a story expansion within this just under 2 years of development support is really nuts. And I'm not even a dude that likes MK11 that much, right? I had my gripes with this game from the very first moment it was playable in the very first play session that it was revealed at. I essentially was like calling a lot of things gameplay wise that I don't know about this game like very early on. And for me personally, I never really resolved onto a character in Mortal Kombat 11 that I really enjoyed playing to make me want to continue to play a lot more of it. Essentially just came back whenever there was new content and just wanted to check it out, see what it was like. If it changed my mind on the game, yada, 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 nothing ever happened in that regard, even though Spawn showed up in this shit. So granted, MK11 is not like the game for me. Injustice 2 really wasn't the game for me either. This comes down to gameplay reasons, but Mortal Kombat X 100% was the game for me. And I felt fantastic as a result of the last balance patch this game got. Oh my God, dude. We all knew MK11 was eventually going to get the ability for players to customize their moves. And they did that. Thank God they did that. They did that way into development. That came, I believe, way after Aftermath even. And Aftermath was like near like the middle of 2020-ish. But they eventually did that. And it felt like a natural addition to the game. The same way a lot of the meter burn changes took place in MKX around the beginning part of 2016. And that really changed that game for the better as well. MK11 did get way more support than the previous NRS games. Like all the previous NRS games going back to Injustice, that is 1000% the case. Did it feel like MK11's time was getting close to being done? It did. The longer we were going from essentially this time frame till now, which is a huge chunk of not hearing anything, the fact that they even did this, right? This is actually a precedent that I don't remember happening for Injustice 2, Mortal Kombat X, or Injustice 1. I don't remember this happening. It's interesting that they're actually putting a stamp on this. I think because they are constantly being hounded about characters and constantly being hounded about updates and things like that. I think that boils down to an initial issue with Mortal Kombat X in general, and it's that his initial roster felt like it was kind of lacking in many ways. The character choices that this game made within its roster was a little odd, even from the very beginning, especially considering that games like Mortal Kombat X and Mortal Kombat 9 really like cemented a lot of characters and characters that people really like a bunch of the ninjas, the cyber ninjas, stuff like that. But to say that this game isn't getting the support that it deserved is crazy to me, because if we're being fucking real here, okay, let's get a couple of my fighting games on here just for perspective. Actual support for MVCI was, oh no, right around that. I think that's actually too generous. I think I gotta go like, See, that's how much support MVCI got. All right, Ultimate Marvel 3. Ooh, oh man, like here's how much support this game got. That's about it, right? In relative comparison, this is how much support these games got. Killer Instinct was supported from about this to to there, just under like 3.5 to 4 years, right? So Kaya had a pretty good chunk. Is this less than the usual fighting game release that that other fighting game companies would have? Yeah, because even Soul Calibur, Dragon Ball, Smash Brothers, Tekken, like a lot of these games down here, Brawlhalla, holy shit, have had ongoing developer support for a hell of a long time. But that is not the business NRS has ever been in. NRS has never been in the business of having their fighting games last a hell of a long time and just being available to the market for a hell of a long time. NRS has made an absolute practice and a huge tapped market out of releasing a fighting game every couple of years. And they've been doing this for over a decade now. Ever since they got absorbed by Warner Brothers, they have pumped out a brand new fighting game every 2 years. And why is so many people at this point like aggressive about the gameplay or arguments about like the way MK11 is playing now? It's because that the game has reached its normal competitive slash long-term life expectancy, right? These games were not expected to last this long, much less was MK11 ever supposed to probably go this long, right? All the previous NRS games got even less than a year of people playing this shit before, bam, oh my God, we got a trailer for a brand new game. Screw that old game. I'm waiting for new game. And that's not a bad thing. To me, that's exciting, right? To me, that's actually super exciting that, geez, man, like there's going to be a brand new game every couple of years. All it means is that we are at the time frame where Mortal Kombat 11, it's complete. You know, I don't think we're going to be getting a lot more patches or adjustments to the game, but that is the way the game is from this point forward, regardless of how you feel about it. It's pretty clear that their next project has been a big priority of theirs because of the lowering amount of support and the fact that the past 6 months, 6+ months, has been very little additions of continued developer involvement, you know? But all it means is that we're pretty close to the next announcement of another NRS game. And in fact, I was thinking it was going to be at E3. We're going to be waiting a bit longer. So my anticipation is that the next NRS game that we hear about is probably going to come around this time frame. Why? Because the last time we heard of the previous NRS game, we heard about MK11 right around here. Right around this area. And then it launched here, right? Not that much time. And remember, there was like only like a 4 to 5 month turnaround between us even learning about Mortal Kombat 11's existence and then it coming out, because it was reserved for the Game Awards. So to me, it makes a lot of sense that the Game Awards, this time frame, is when NRS's next big game is going to be. Is it going to be a Marvel game? Is it going to be Injustice 3? Is it going to be Marvel versus DC? I don't know. I think all I want at this time is for the game to be relatively crazy, right? I just kind of want it to be a game that allows for a lot of creativity in terms of its gameplay, because that was kind of one of the things that was missing from Mortal Kombat 11 for a very long time, at least until you can unlock, you know, the moves for characters and choose what to do with those moves. Even though a lot of people are upset about this, I wouldn't be too upset, because this just means that NRS is falling back on exactly what they've been doing for the past 10 years, NRS and WB, which is the fact that they're getting ready to announce another fighting game relatively soon. How is that not exciting, right? How are you guys not ridiculously excited, even though Mortal Kombat 11 is done and you didn't end up getting like Reptile or the Cyber Ninjas or Ermac or whatever? How are you not ridiculously excited that you're about to get a whole brand new fighting game to chomp at the bits? Like, to me, that's really exciting. That's always something that's super fun.